Using technology in your classroom can be a huge change, so we wanted to share with you some tips on the easiest way to use Khan Academy in your classroom, and hopefully this will help you to get started rather quickly. So the first piece of advice that we have for you is to use Khan Academy in a way that is completely supplemental. So instead of being concerned about having a perfect match of a video to a lesson or a perfect exercise that matches a lesson or a standard that you are teaching, instead, when you get started, have students use Khan Academy just starting at the top of the knowledge map. And this way, it requires no prep on your end. Students are immediately feeling successful and reviewing basic arithmetic and math concepts that are important for a strong math foundation, and it's giving you time to get familiar with the coach reports and all of the data that comes through on the student's end. The second piece of advice we have for you is to give students a routine amount of time every week to use Khan Academy. And if you are using Khan Academy at school, whether it's in a learning lab or stations or with a mobile cart that you check out a couple times a week, we recommend that the amount of time you give students is at least 30 minutes. And this is because it takes time to turn computers on, to turn them off, and 30 minutes will give students time to go through those procedures while also having time to actually be on Khan Academy. If you have a longer amount of time, maybe 45 minutes or an hour, even better. And we would also suggest that you give students 3 to 5 times a week to work on Khan Academy. The third piece of advice we have for you is to set small goals. And we're really thinking about the first month of implementation. What should you hope to achieve? And one of those small goals that we'd recommend is to make sure that all of your tech issues are resolved. And this can mean everything from, I'm just going to write, tech is resolved. In that first month, you might realize that you may not have enough bandwidth, or maybe the connection goes in and out. All of those technical difficulties can be very frustrating. So it's important within the first month or 2 months to make sure that those issues are completely resolved. Along those lines, you want to make sure that your systems and procedures become efficient and smooth. So systems and procedures. And this means everything from making sure that kids are not tripping over charging cords, and that computers are returned to the right places, and that students are really respecting the technology and using the time effectively. So all of those systems and procedures take time to figure out. And then another small goal that would be good to have in that first month is to start looking at data and to start looking at coach reports. And maybe this means that you choose just one report. Maybe it's the progress summary report to start looking at every day, every week, and to just become really familiar with it so that it can start to inform your instruction. And finally, in this first month, we think it's pretty reasonable to open up time in your classroom for peer-to-peer tutoring. And this will probably start to happen pretty naturally. And we just want to encourage you to allow this to happen in your classroom because it's a pretty powerful thing to see a student not only show mastery over a skill, but be able to prove that mastery by teaching it to another student. So these are all good goals to have for the first month or so. And we would say that this should be amongst your top priority for this first month, instead of worrying about integration into curriculum or having things work perfectly. We would say to start small and to just start in whatever way makes most sense for you and your students.